Hi, this is Trevor, and welcome back to our weekly tarot card challenge. I'll be getting into the cards in just a moment, but first I wanted to share a little bit of news. I'm deeply honored that I'm in an interview that is available through the Aquarian newspaper. That's a resource that's available in print here in Winnipeg, but it is also available online. And the print article is going to be followed up with some additional articles in the next season that just talk about my work and some of the really important shaping influences that I'm grateful to. And there's a companion piece that mentions a reader who I admired really early on when I was starting out, a great resource to myself and to my family, and that was Madame Red Davis. Madame Red was quite well known here in Winnipeg, and definitely somebody who was one of the leading influences in terms of intuitive work. So you can find all that. I'll include a link to the Aquarian along with the link to my website, and you'll find that underneath this video. And my website is at trevorsense.com, and that's also where you'll find information about how to book an appointment with me, as well as articles, and also all of these videos are listed on that site. But enough of the news, let's carry on to our card of the week. And I'm shuffling the cards, and I always cut them. That's just part of my little tradition. And the Seven of Swords. What an intriguing card. And I call this card the Saboteur. Right? Now, something that we have mentioned in some of the previous videos is that I like to look at what all of the number cards would have in common. And sevens are interesting in that they relate to partly to the planet Saturn. You can make that association, and they have a kind of ambiguity. They're cards that people often look at and go, well, is this good or is this bad? What's this guy up to is the question. And I also like to relate the numbers in my own interpretation to the positions in the layout. I work with a 10-card layout. It's a variation on the Celtic cross, and I'll be mentioning that further. I think I'm going to do a specific video soon about my own layout and how that's evolved. But you can relate the cards to the positions, and in many interpretations, in the 7th position of the Celtic cross, sevens are the actions we take where we can't always know the consequences. They're tricky. And I wrote an article, I think, that's called Tricky Sevens, because sevens are where you're going to be learning a lesson. There's not always a clear-cut right, wrong, good, bad. You know, sometimes there's a bit of good in the worst of us and a bit of bad in the best of us. Sometimes we have to do the wrong thing for the right reason. So sevens are meant to be that kind of uncertain sense of action where there is going to be consequences, and we have to be prepared to learn. We have to be prepared to sometimes fly by the seat of our pants, maybe take our lumps. A friend of mine who's a hockey player says, you know, sometimes you got to do the wrong thing, and you might have to do your time in the penalty box. But the only really wrong thing is when you throw your stick on the ice and refuse to play. That's when you've let down the whole team. So sevens are going to be that challenging sense of where we have to take action, we have to maybe be learning from mistakes and working with things on that level. So in the design, and I always have to give kudos to Pamela Coleman-Smith, the illustrator, because I think her gift in terms of being able to convey a message is so strong. We see this figure whose feet are going one way and his face is facing back over his shoulder. Didn't his mother ever tell him not to run with knives? There's a kind of a question mark too. Is he stealing those knives from an enemy camp? Is he a good guy or is he a bad guy? And sometimes this is a card that can indicate a situation where someone is in the process of teaching themselves a lesson. I know myself, there's been periods where I've had to shoot myself in the foot in order to learn something. And there's sometimes is a real question about motives. You know, what are we really wanting here? There's a saying that I often hear with friends around recovery circles that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again, expecting a different result. But if deep down inside, we kind of know that that result is going to be bringing us pain or shame, why do we keep going back? What is it we're reinforcing? And sometimes we have to go through that experience of shooting ourselves in the foot in order to kind of gain that insight. This can sometimes be an indication when it's talking about a situation or other people in the environment of dangerous elements, of things that may be kind of working at cross purposes. There could be some deceit. There could be some self-deceit. Where are we choosing a situation that has warning labels and we're just not letting ourselves see that? So it's one of those cards that oftentimes really has to depend on the other elements that are coming through around it and how we have to look at that. And we have to be prepared to kind of stay with the process, to see it through. Maybe we have to do our time in the penalty box, but we don't have to throw our stick down on the ice and refuse to play. Sometimes the trick is staying in the game, learning from that upheaval and saying, how can we move on from there? In dealing with other people where there may be those mixed motives, sometimes we have to just listen to our own feelings, our own instincts of, is this feeling safe? Is this feeling right? We don't have to come to an ultimate judgment of that person or of that situation, but we can work with what we know and feel is right for us. Challenging, tricky, and I'll encourage you to check out that little article on Tricky Sevens. So it's been a delight sharing with you once again, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next week. Tune back again for our Card of the Week challenge, and check out the other information that's on my website, or follow me on Facebook. We're getting some interesting comments that are going on in a couple of different areas and arenas, and I'm looking at how we can be possibly expanding that further in the near future. Take care and have a great week. Bye for now.